Good afternoon, guys. This is D.W from Florida. I'm hoping anyone in Florida has not suffered too bad, but obviously we had the hurricane come through, Irma, and so everyone's pulling out generators. Now, we've only just, after 5, nearly 6 days, got our power back on, but I have been using a generator. Mine's up, my mind's been wandering so much, it's not been on filming or doing anything. But obviously there's certain people that, have done things and damaged themselves or blown up their houses or burnt down their houses or had shocks. I was a qualified electrician, by the way, in England, so I'm going to show you what I would have done or what I did do to generate and power up the house. So there's several types of generators. This is a gas generator. It's a 5,550. This is a pull start, not electric start. Your power points are here. You can plug in an extension lead ×4 with 120 volts coming through each one of these, or you can link up to the 240 volts and have 4 extensions or extension leads coming off that one. But I'm not here to discuss about these themselves. I'm here to show you how to link it up, power it up to the board. Now, some people have been linking, some people were getting the extension leads, plugging them into the actual power unit, into the generator, and powering it up directly to the dryer, the heater or the washing machine or whatever it was. But that really isn't that safe because it's called a backfeed. It's not the best way. There's no fuse to protect it, so it's really not that good. The best way, I think, is to link it directly up to the main board. Now, we live on land, so we're away from the main road, so we've got a well system, and we've also got this main board that feeds outside. It feeds the house, it feeds workshops and sheds, and they've all got their own separate fuses. Now, it does come with a cover over there to obviously explaining shed, workshop, AC unit and well pump, and obviously the house. So this is the one I use. It's a diesel generator. It can take a 5-gallon drum and of diesel, and that'll last the 24 hours near enough. Now, when you're powering up to the board, the most important thing you must do is knock off the mains, shut down the main breaker. The cables come down from the main pole, drop in, turn that main breaker off. The reason being, now this is a warning, the reason being because you will get a feedback. You start a generator and start putting 240 volts or 250 volts, whichever, into this, feeding it to the house, and leave that breaker open. That breaker will then feed, because it's open, 240 volts back down the line. So any linesmen or workers on the line, they can get electric shocks. And if they're up on a ladder or up on their things, you don't want to injure anyone else. You don't want to get sued, fined. So this is your warning. Always, always, from day one, from the start, as soon as you open this unit, turn off the mains. Excuse me. Now, I'm going to go through everything, the basic way. Now, you can buy these separately. Mine came with one. It came with the 4 leads and a big, where is it? And the other end was a 240 volt connection. Now, I could have just plugged in 2 extra outlets, but I wanted running water, which was the most important thing, from a well. I also wanted outlets to be working, sockets, we call them in England, or outlets, and I also wanted fans, ceiling fans, lights, that sort of thing. We also had a bonus because we had a deep freezer. We could have had the fridge freezer on, but there wasn't enough in there. We'd made sure that that was low, so we left that off. Look at all your items in the house. Microwaves, range, you know, the ranges, the cookers, the ovens, the fridge freezers, the freezers. They're the drawers. They're the one that draw the energy and use the energy. These can only cope with so much energy. It gives you so much energy. You start overpowering that, the units, either one, will slow down and shut off because it can't cope with the feed, what it needs to feed it. So remember, go into your fuse board in the house. If you're not using that, if you're using an outside box, knock off the mains from there. All the fuses, knock them off. And the reason being is you don't want to turn this on, power it all up, get all the electric going in there, and suddenly it shuts off. Because what it'll be doing is it'll be trying to run the microwave, the heat, the fridge freezer, the deep freezer, the sockets, the lighting, and everything else that's powered up. It'll just keep shutting off, and you'll be wondering why. So knock off the fuse boards, turn off all the fuses, then come outside and start your work. Right? So what I'm doing, I've cut off the end of this. Now this is a 4-core cable, and when it's, I'm not going to get technical, sorry, I don't want to get too technical. It's a 4-core cable, so this is for 240. You have your two lives meaning, or the lines in, two lines in, which is lives. It's a 120 and a 120. Put them together, classes as 240. So that's what you're feeding, 240 in. Now 240 means it's looking after 120 on one side of the fuses, 120 on the other side of the fuses, and that's how it works. It goes in as a 240, and each row of your switches for your fuses are 120 and 120. Hence, if you see a fuse like this, it's a double fuse. That is a 240. It links to both lines of the actual cable. So 120 and 120 together equals 240, and sometimes it goes up, variations in frequencies. So that's 241. Now I've taken this from another board which is dead, and I needed something to protect the cable that I'm putting in there, because I don't want to just connect up to anything. Now it would be better to have a 30 amp, a 40 amp, but I've got a 60, and that will do. That's actually over protective. So really, if you've got a 30 amp in here, use it. Now I'm going to show you what I did. I'm not going to use this one. I'm going to use a 30 amp, which I've already got in there. So let me just come over here. Can you see me there? You want to move slightly around? I don't know. Right, what I've done, sorry, my son's looking after the video so I don't mess up. I've got this lamp, and it's wired up by an extension, and it just goes into the socket in the house, just so I can show you. I don't have to mess you around with taking you inside. This lamp links up to that house. So I'll move that out of the way. I've wired up already your red and your black are your 120 lines. Yeah? So each one of these are lives, will be lives. Your green and your white is your earth, your ground, your neutral, whatever you guys call it in the States. In England we would call that earth and neutral. But on the American side, they link them both together, which I don't know. It's up to them, it's how they do it. We have separate bars, separate things, but that's how they do it. So that goes in your earth bar or your ground bar. Both yellow, sorry, both white and green ground. At this moment, this is turned off, the main fuse. Now, on mine I've got a pump well, like I said, and I know this is the pump well cable here, and it goes to a 30 amp breaker there. It's turned off, all these breakers are turned off. So what I'm going to do, get my screwdriver, I think I've got some ants behind me, and then I put them in, connect it in like so. Right, I'm going to do this, so make sure it's a nice termination actually. Let me just get my, I've obviously been using this, so right. So I'm playing now inside here, and it's none of it's live other than up the top. Right, let's push that in. Nice and tight. Terminate it. Now bearing in mind, we've now got power back on as of an hour ago. But I want to show you how it works. Now I've got time to show you. Make sure it's a good termination. Make sure, oh gosh, you know, these are tight. But there we go. If you are scared about doing this, don't do it. Get someone else to do it. All right. So what you've got is you've got your 30 amp. You've got this connection that goes into there. It can only go in one way, and you'll see that. That's very basic. It's the only way it can go on. Now on this unit, you've got a breaker here as well. That's a 25. So this being a 30 is going to be good. It's not going to make any difference. 30 is probably going to be better. Right. Now this is what we need to do. Although it's electric and I've got a battery in here, this battery ran down very quickly. It's not been used for years, and I charged it and it wasn't that good. So I have to jump start every single time if it cuts off. And we realised, you know, powering other things up. Now this is metal, so I don't want to short, or this is metal should I say, I don't want to short it against, so I'm putting this over there, just over that terminal. You won't have to do this, guys, I promise you. If you've got just a pull cord generator, you just pull it. So that's terminated there, just need to terminate it here. Right, if you now look at this generator here, it's got your power sources, it's got your voltages. This fuse is left off. Turn it on, it's showing me. I'm going to turn it on. And it can only go Now, what you didn't see or what you didn't know is that after I'd linked all this up, I then selected what I actually required for the main thing. One was I'm using the pump, water pump that we've got for our well. I'm using that fuse, and that's a 30 amp fuse. So I've linked up to that, so it will feed directly the 30 amp, the pump, the well. So now I'm getting water coming in directly, and that goes back to its own fuse board or its own breakers back at the well. Remember, top up your diesel, top up your gas, top up the oil, make sure the oil's full, because you don't want it running out in the middle of the night. That's the main thing. They're your jobs to do when you get your generator. I'm not talking to you as if you are an idiot. I'm talking to you to just remind you. So any questions, if I can help you, I'll help you. Don't plug, if you don't have to plug it into the dryer or the washing machine outlet, don't do it. It's not required, you don't need it. This is probably the safest way because you've got your fuse backups there and you know everything's working. If you can't do it this way, do it with the connections, buy the right connections and just do it that way. It's probably the safest way. You're not backfeeding it, you're not going to have any serious injuries, you're not going to have anything. And then obviously as soon as the power comes back on, knock off, take everything out, make sure you disconnect from the board, because if you from the you know, this supply, because this is now supplying that board. Make sure you disconnect everything, then you can turn this power back on. Okay, so I'll just show you now that we have got power back on. I'm going to disconnect this first of all, so we've still got the water. Just make sure you tighten everything back up. If you get a loose connection in a loose termination, if that goes into the outlet, into the fuse, and it's wobbling, it arcs, what you call arcing. It creates heat, it starts to melt this, it gets brittle, it can melt, it can burn, you can have a fire. So that's the danger zone. Have confidence in what you're doing, watch the video, understand the video, and yes, people say I talk a lot, but I would rather listen to someone talking than watching someone just do it and not explaining. Okay, so let's just show you that everything's working here. As you can see, that's disconnected. That's disconnected. That's off. Now we should have lights. Wait on. Yep. Turn this on. The main breaker's on. As you can see, there you go. Off. So now we've got power coming back to us. And to all those linemen, I say thank you. You've done a great job. Working hard. Take care. Thank you.
Subscribe and leave a like.